Global Gridlock Report, BRICS, push for a new world order, proposing alternatives to IMF and World Bank. The BRICS coalition, comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is doubling down on efforts to create a new financial world order. At the forefront of this initiative is Russia, which is spearheading discussions to establish alternatives to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank. These moves reflect the group's growing discontent with what it perceives as the Western-dominated financial system and mark a significant push towards reconfiguring the global economic architecture. Before we proceed, please like, comment, and subscribe to help us with the YouTube algorithm. Russia has emphasized the need for a multipolar financial system, citing frustrations with the current Western institutions that many BRICS members argue impose stringent terms and foster dependency. Sergei Lavrov, Russia's foreign minister, reiterated Moscow's stance, stating that BRICS nations need independent financial institutions capable of meeting the specific development needs of emerging economies. Lavrov warned that the era of Western financial dominance is nearing its end, and urged BRICS members to accelerate efforts to build new alternatives, challenging the IMF and World Bank's dominance. The IMF and World Bank, founded in the aftermath of World War II, have long served as the backbone of the global financial system, providing loans, grants, and development programs worldwide. However, many countries in the global south, including BRICS members, have expressed frustration with the stringent structural adjustment policies required by these institutions. Critics argue that these policies often result in austerity measures, currency devaluations, and other economic hardships that disproportionately affect vulnerable populations. Russia and other BRICS members argue that developing countries need institutions that promote sustainable growth without the political strings attached. Lavrov stressed that future financial frameworks should be insulated from geopolitical pressures and should promote the sovereignty of borrowing nations. BRICS Bank in action, a growing financial player. The new development bank, NDB, commonly known as the BRICS Bank, has emerged as a viable alternative. Headquartered in Shanghai, the NDB aims to provide financial resources for infrastructure and sustainable development projects without the constraints imposed by the IMF and World Bank. While the bank is still in its early stages, the BRICS coalition hopes to position it as a leading financial institution for the developing world. Recent loans issued by the NDB have targeted sectors like renewable energy, transportation, and urban development across member nations. The bank also aims to expand its outreach beyond BRICS, with countries from Africa and Latin America expressing interest in joining. The growing momentum behind the NDB signals the BRICS group's commitment to creating a financial ecosystem separate from Western influence. A new reserve currency on the horizon? A critical part of the BRICS strategy involves de-dollarization, an effort to reduce the global reliance on the US dollar. Russia has proposed that the BRICS countries develop their own reserve currency, potentially backed by a basket of commodities such as gold, oil, and rare earth metals. This proposal reflects a broader trend in which countries increasingly seek alternatives to the dollar to shield their economies from sanctions and exchange rate volatility. Recent sanctions on Russia following its invasion of Ukraine have intensified Moscow's calls for an alternative financial system. Lavrov argued that the misuse of the US dollar as a tool of economic warfare has highlighted the need for a neutral global currency that is not tied to any single nation's geopolitical interests. Expanding BRICS. Influence. A global power shift. The BRICS group has grown beyond its initial 5 members. During the 2024 summit, 6 additional countries, Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, were invited to join the bloc. The expanded membership underscores the growing appeal of BRICS as a platform for countries seeking to break away from Western economic dominance. This shift has the potential to reshape global alliances, particularly as more nations signal their intent to explore trade and financial frameworks independent of the US and Europe. BRICS countries now represent over 40% of the world's population and account for roughly a quarter of global GDP. Analysts believe that if BRICS continues to expand, it could rival the influence of Western-led institutions such as the G7. With the addition of resource-rich nations like Saudi Arabia and Iran, the group is also poised to enhance its geopolitical clout by controlling significant shares of the world's energy markets. Potential risks and obstacles. Despite the ambitious rhetoric, the BRICS bloc faces several challenges in realizing its vision of a new financial order. Member countries have vastly different economic models and geopolitical interests, which could complicate efforts to develop a unified strategy. For instance, China's economic influence has raised concerns among some BRICS members about potential dominance within the group. Furthermore, the creation of a new reserve currency and financial institutions requires significant coordination and time. Some experts warn that the transition away from Western-dominated systems could be slow and fraught with disruptions. Financial markets are deeply interconnected, and any sudden moves toward de-dollarization could lead to short-term economic instability. A new era in global finance? The developments within BRICS mark the beginning of what could be a profound shift in global financial power. The push to create alternatives to the IMF and World Bank represents not just a critique of Western economic hegemony, but also a bold attempt to offer a new path forward for developing nations. If successful, BRICS could usher in an era of greater financial autonomy for the global South and reduce the leverage Western countries currently hold over international finance. While it remains to be seen how quickly these changes will materialize, one thing is clear. The BRICS bloc is determined to challenge the status quo. As nations align with this movement, the traditional pillars of global finance may be forced to adapt to a more multipolar world. Global gridlock will continue to monitor these developments as BRICS seeks to rewrite the rules of the global economy and reimagine financial cooperation for the 21st century. The road ahead may be uncertain, but the ambitions of this growing coalition are likely to leave a lasting impact on the future of international relations and economic governance.